Is GCSE space. Well, it's GCSE physics, space topic. I think it's going to be about 5 lessons. So first one's going to be solar system and our galaxy. And start of activity, if you can, is name the planets in our solar system. So remember, each time I ask a question, just pause it. So I'll be taking you through some answers. Right, so there's 8 planets. Used to be 9. But you can remember it using this mnemonic. So my very easy method just speeds up naming planets. So M is Mercury, V is Venus, E is Earth, M is Mars, J is Jupiter, S is Saturn, U is Uranus, N Neptune, and P used to be Pluto. But obviously, Pluto is no longer a planet. All right, let's move on. And yeah, you need to know them. So make sure you learn them. Right, so solar system, the sun. So all planets orbit a star. And all planets in our solar system orbit the sun. So the sun contains about 99.9% of the total mass of the solar system. It's got a mass of 2 times 10 to the power of 30 kilograms, which is, a 2 with 30 zeros. So it's exceptionally massive. And yeah, everything goes around it. Let's see what's next. So let's talk about Pluto. So why is Pluto not a planet? So for an object or a body to be classed as a planet, it must follow 3 rules. So the planets or the planet in question must orbit a star. It must be spherical, so big enough to be spherical. And the planet must clear its own orbit. So that means that any debris near it should have been absorbed into the collective planet's mass at some point in time. And Pluto just didn't do that. Pluto does orbit a star. It is spherical, but it's not cleared its orbit. There's a lot of stuff knocking around Pluto, and it's been demoted to and rightly so, into a dwarf planet. Right, so we've got our solar system. Objects in our solar system can be put into 5 different categories. So we've got the sun, which is obviously just the sun. We've got planets, which we just discussed earlier. So there's 8 of those. Dwarf planets. Dwarf planet estimates are as high as 200 in the Kuiper belt, which we'll talk about in a bit, and over 10,000 in the region beyond there. However, there's 5 bodies in particular. You've got Ceres in the inner solar system, which is a dwarf planet in the asteroid belt, and that's between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, discovered in 1801 by a guy called Giuseppe. That's a bit of trivia there. And then there's 4 in the trans-Neptunian region. So you got Pluto, Eris, I'll probably butcher these, but Huame, by butcher I mean not saying properly. And then it's spelt make, but it could be make, I don't know what that is. But there's 5. And it's alleged, I think there's up to 9, the actual proper ones that they've, that they think there are. But there's those 5 definites at the minute. So one quite close to Earth in the inner solar system, and the other 4 are outside the other side of the asteroid belt. Anyway, we've got satellites. So satellites can be divided into 2 types of satellites. You've got natural satellites and artificial satellites. So they're the ones that are made by humans. And then we've got asteroids. So if you might want to do this, you might just be listening, not making any notes at all. You can draw this table. So type of object, what is it, and examples, and we'll fill it in as we go through the following slides. So now, type of objects. So planets. So large objects which orbit a star, mass enough to be round, and need to have cleared their neighbourhood. So that's, obviously using gravity, pull everything in that's local into one distinct mass. So the inner planets are all rocky, and the outer planets are gas giants. So the inner ones are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and the outer planets. Then you've got your asteroid belt after Mars, then it's Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So we've got moons, or satellites. A moon being a natural satellite, so a natural object that orbits planets. Most planets have moons. So the Earth has got Moon, which is, the real name's Luna. Then Mars has got Phobos and Deimos. Jupiter's got some big moons, Ganymede, Callisto, Europa, and Io. Saturn's got quite a lot. Titan is the one, I believe, that may be suitable for life. And then Uranus, that top one's called Puck, which it's a bit small, you might read that wrong. Miranda, Umbriel. And then Neptune's got some moons as well. So there's plenty of moons, plenty of natural satellites in the solar system. So that list is not distinctive, by the way. There's a lot more moons than that. They're just a lot of the major ones. So artificial satellites, so human-made objects that orbit planets, obviously usually the Earth, unless there's some master alien race somewhere that's doing the same thing that we don't know about. So there's some major ones: International Space Station, Hubble Space Telescope. There's the new telescope, the James Webb, which I believe, I'm not sure on the operational lifespan of Hubble. I know Hubble's been up a lot longer than it was initially supposed to be. It's been continually upgraded. But the James Webb one's a complete different level. So at the time of making this PowerPoint, there were 2,271 satellites in space. There's more now, but can you guess what they do? So we've got communications. So Google made a major investment in Elon Musk's SpaceX, up to about $1 billion US. It beams cheap internet to developing nations. You've probably heard quite a lot about SpaceX and their satellite system. They're continually doing launches, and the system is called Starlink. Apparently, it's pretty fast. You get 100 megabits per second. Spy satellites, so they include radar, photographic, nuclear explosion detection, and missile early warning systems. And then there's GPS, so a number of satellites have to orbit in fixed. So that's obviously bad English, but there's a lot of satellites in a fixed orbit, and it allows us to find the accurate locations of objects. It requires 3 satellites to get an accurate GPS location. And then moons, so it says again, in fact, moons are also satellites, it's just the natural satellites. And any satellites that humans put into space are indeed artificial. Another type of object, asteroids. So huge numbers of rocks between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. And these are much smaller than planets and moons. So obviously they're not spherical, and they've definitely not cleared their own orbit. So they're definitely not planets, and they're very small. Although some of them are pretty big, and you definitely don't want to get hit by them. If we're hit by Eros or Ida, for example, we'd all be dead. But hopefully that won't happen. Well, there's no reason it should happen, actually, because asteroids are in orbit. They're not just going to randomly crash into the Earth. Comets, on the other hand, different kettle of fish. But anyway, let's move on. So we've got the Kuiper Belt. So you might have heard of this one, you might not. So a large number of chunks of ice beyond the orbit of Neptune, and many comets come from here. Comets are the ones that can ruin your day. So little image there showing you Kuiper Belt. So just outside Neptune's orbit. And another type of object, dwarf planets. So planet-like objects, too small to meet the rules to be a planet. So the major one is that they've definitely not cleared their own orbit. So there's some examples of some Kuiper Belt objects. You've got Pluto there with its moon. And then a bunch of other things that you can look up if you wish. So as a summary, you should have something like this if you did the table. If not, there it is. So we've got type of object on the left-hand side, what is it? And then some examples on the right-hand side. Right, then our galaxy. So our sun is part of the Milky Way Galaxy. That's obviously an artist's impression of what the Milky Way Galaxy looks like, and we are here, which is a tiny speck of light, which is just one individual star. The number of stars in the Milky Way Galaxy is between up to 400 billion, which is obviously a lot. And the sun itself is, obviously we orbit around the sun, but the sun itself orbits around the centre of the Milky Way Galaxy. And at the centre of the Milky Way, of any galaxy, is the galactic core, and more than likely a supermassive black hole, which keeps everything nice and tight in orbit. So sun's orbital period, around 240 million years. So number of stars in the galaxies, between 100 to 400 billion. And the total mass of the galaxy, so we've got 3, 6, 9, 12 zeros. So that's 1,000 billion or 1 trillion times more massive than the sun. And there's a cool picture, because why not? Right, got some questions then, if you want to have a go at these. And then we'll look at some answers. Let's have a look then. So first one, name the planets in order of distance from the sun. So that's just going to be Mercury, Venus. So my very easy method, in fact, let's do it, just speeds up naming planets, obviously not done. So MA is Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. So right, each classification, planet, dwarf planet, star, asteroid, satellite for each of these objects. So the sun is a star. I might as well write this down. So sun is a star. Next one is moon, or the moon, or lunar, which is a natural satellite. We've got Mars. Mars, last time I checked, is a planet. Space Station. So let's call that the International Space Station. That's an artificial satellite. And then Google Earth satellite. So Google Earth satellite is an artificial satellite. So number 3, what are the 3 rules for a planet? So 3 distinct things that make something a planet. So number 1, must orbit star. You could have written sun. It'd help if I could write star properly. Orbit star. Next rule is it must have enough gravity to be spherical. And thirdly, cleared its orbit. Cleared its own orbit. So it's number 4 says, where in the solar system are rocky planets and gas giants located? So the rocky planets are all in the inner solar system before the asteroid belt, and the gas giants are after the asteroid belt in the outer regions of the solar system. Number 5 says, name 2 artificial satellites and 1 natural satellite. So 2 artificial, you've probably gone, if you could, anything, International Space Station, any one of the telescopes, James Webb or Hubble, or you might have gone with any, GPS satellites, anything like that. So natural satellite, the moon or any of the other moons in the solar system. Number 6, what does our sun orbit? That would be the centre of the galaxy. Number 7 says, sketch the solar system and label planets, moons, asteroid, etc. Number 7, if you've sketched that, you can go back through the video and find it. There's an image somewhere. That's another task for you to do. Because I'm not sketching it, it'll won't be the best. Finally, number 8, what do you think the word solar system means? So, solar system, straight from definitions from Oxford Languages, the collection of 8 planets and their moons in orbit around the sun, together with smaller bodies in the form of asteroids, meteoroids and comets. The planets of the solar system are, in order from distance from the sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. Anyway, hopefully that's helped. Thanks for watching. Bit of a long one, but hopefully it's gone well. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.